But we welcome in Keith Hernandez now. Keith, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Mike. I'm down here in Florida. I never left. And, fortunately, I'm down here where I'm not up there or New York where it's been just, I guess, fairly devastating.
It has, Keith. You know, it's funny. I have a house in Palm Beach, and I called the doctor, but I have kids, and as soon as their schools were canceled, I said to the doc, one of my doctors up here, and I said, should I go down there or come here? He says, I think Florida will catch up, and you should stay here because we can take better care of you here. We have better hospitals. I said, okay. So I stayed. It got so much worse here than it ever got there, obviously. But, you know, it's been weird. The one thing is we have so many, as you know, hospitals here. I think it gave us a better fighting chance than another place would have had. Another place that didn't have New York's and Long Island's hospitals would have really been overwrought. It really would have. We have so many hospitals, we had a fighting chance anyway.
Yes, I agree. So it's been an interesting ride so far, I guess, for sure. So I've been here, I've been quarantined, and going out with. I don't have a mask, but I have I go out. I look like a Wild West outlaw coming in to rob a bank with a bandana over my nose. So, but I've been being very careful. Just basically loaded up with food and long before, and I've been here eating in, and that's about it.
I know you're a big Civil War guy. Are you a guy who's going to watch a lot of movies, or are you a reader?
I tell you what, I just think I would have watched a lot of the older movies, but with the things that are on TV now, I have Apple TV. You know, with Netflix, I'm just watching so much great programming. I mean, I'm watching right now. What's the name of that show? Better Call Saul.
Right.
Which was a takeoff from Breaking Bad.
Did you watch Ozark?
No, I didn't.
Watch Ozark. I don't like to recommend shows. It's on Netflix. Watch it. It's a really wicked show. It really is. It's 3 years worth. It's a really, really well written, crazy show.
Okay, you're around the fifth person that said to watch that.
Yes,
so,
and you will. The female characters are some of the more memorable characters you will ever remember. I'm telling you, it is really. Yeah, it's. You will not stop watching it. You really won't.
Okay, that piques my interest.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me this: when you, as someone who has spent his life around baseball, do you see anything that works if they talk to you, and they might because of who you are? What do you envision? I mean, can you envision the game with no fans? Can you not envision the game without fans? What do you see when you look at the year?
Well, South Korea? Evidently, I saw a photograph of a game being played with no one in the ballpark. I think it would be very, very difficult for the players. It would be kind of surreal, I guess, and not having the energy, and you'd have to draw it from within as a player. What I found interesting, Mike, I just heard your conversation before I came on, and as far as we're going to broadcast, and how do you social distance with guys in the truck? They can't possibly social distance.
There are so many things that haven't even been thought of yet. I mean, I didn't even get to the broadcasters yet. Absolutely. I mean, you'd have to reconfigure the trucks. Even in your booth, your booths are not built that way. Your booths are not.
I don't think we do it. Sorry to interrupt. I don't think we do it. I think with an empty stadium,
you can do them from the stands.
We would probably do it in the stands.
You probably could. You could sit 6 feet apart. But that's how crazy it has gotten. But even travel, if there was any, would be impossible. Hotels are going to keep people skittish, and again, everybody's in a different place. Some of the broadcasters, a lot of them, are older, where you're up to, if anything, if you're above 60, and they're saying you got to be careful if you're above 60 years of age. There's plenty of broadcasters in the game who are over 60 years old, that's for sure. So I mean, there's so many different things that come into play that we haven't even imagined yet.
There's no question. Keith Gammon wrote a real nice article around a couple of days ago about how it affects the minor leagues and the Cape Cod leagues and all that, and how the minor leagues rely on. They don't have TV contracts, and that's never something I didn't think about.
Yep.
I mean, this is like a chain reaction here. It's just it affects so many various parts of the game, and the people that are there, from the employees, everybody's affected that's involved with the game. But we just got to hope. And I know I'm down here, and they opened up the beaches up in Jacksonville, and let's just hope that there's an antidote or discovered, or it burns out. But for me right now, I think the one thing that I like the best, they're talking about three states: Arizona, Texas, and Florida. You can't. There's no way you can put 30 teams in Arizona. You just can't, and quarantine the players. There's just no way that's going to happen. They've got 13 fields evidently, but if you're going to play 3 games a day, if you got 30 teams there in 110-degree weather in the summer, you're going to kill the field. Number one. I like the idea, and personally, it's good for me because I have a place here. Is the teams will play on their spring training sites, and I'd like the 3 divisions in Arizona and the 3 divisions, in Florida, and play through October, and then have a neutral warm weather site or a dome site for postseason in November.
What's a real season to you? How many games is a real season? Is there a number? 80?
80.
Okay.
I know Gary Cohen, we had a talk, and Gary had a good idea. Even if it was, say, there were 2 months, and it was a 60 game, because it would be a 60 game sprint, and it has a great turn sprint, and every game would be important. That would be of interest to me.
Were you insulted by the 7-inning aspect of it, or that doesn't bother you?
Well, there's another aspect of pitchers hurting their arms. And I know these guys are probably, they're in great shape, and they're staying in great shape. But how long of spring training are we going to have? How much is needed? You've got 5 pitchers. Now, granted, they're probably not going to go, long. To be much more stress on the bullpens. I would think maybe a possibility of an expanded roster. So that more
pitches. I had your old manager on, Bobby Valentine. He said you got to carry a minimum of 16 to 18 pitches.
Agreed.
Yes.
Well, I couldn't put a number on it. Bobby's managed; he would know better than me. But certainly, you've got to expand the roster so you don't bury arms, particularly if you're going to play doubleheaders.
Yes. And they're talking about 7-inning doubleheaders. They're talking about the talk of that set. We're talking with Keith Hernandez, of course, 7-inning doubleheaders. Electronic balls and strikes has been mentioned also as a possibility. So there's all kinds of different things, and expanded pitching rosters too. The roster could be up to 40 players, as a matter of fact, with many more pitchers on the roster and adjustable rosters because of the use of the pitchers.
I don't know about the 40 man, but I think you should be like football and maybe have a taxi squad.
Right.
And they're ready to go, boom, instantly. But certainly, I think that the roster can be expanded. If Bobby's saying you're going from, what do they have now, 12, 13 pitchers to 18, 6 more pitchers. So you're looking at this 26-man roster this year. So you're looking at around, maybe you want a couple extra bench guys, who knows, 35, 32, 35-man roster.
How long would it take a veteran player to get in shape? 2 weeks?
That's a good question. There's nothing like getting out there and playing. And Gary, you can work out. Mike, I don't know what I'm thinking here.
That's okay.
If there's no substitute getting out there and playing 9 innings in the heat and standing and getting out in the field, and the full effect of playing now today, not a 3-hour game.
And people don't give baseball credit for that. They think, it's baseball. No, you need to get in shape. Plus, pitchers need to get their game themselves stretched out, especially starting pitchers. And you need a couple of weeks, and it doesn't work unless you guys are competing against yourselves. I'll give you a perfect example, Keith. The NBA says they need 25 days, 10 to 12 days of individual skills, and then 2 weeks of intense head-to-head scrimmaging, or games before they could be
Right.
ready against each other, because they said if you don't play against the same level of competition, it doesn't work.
But you've got five. You got five starters, and I guess there's going to be six now because you're playing doubleheaders. You're going to have a swing man. So you're probably going to look at a rotation of six. Although I remember Ron Darling mentioned something that you can't have six in a rotation because what are you going to do? You're going to throw DeGrom off every fifth day. That's not going to happen. They have to get into a rhythm. But the sixth starter, if they're going to play doubleheaders, you are going to need one or two guys that are going to pitch that second game of a doubleheader.
Absolutely. And the Mets have a couple of good swingmen, which we know. So, they got guys like Lugo and Gesellman, guys like that who could do that stuff. So that could be a positive. I like Lugo as a starter anyway. Ronnie said he'd leave him in the pen. I like him as more of a starter, but we'll see what happens. What do you think about Cespedes this year? You expect him to be a big factor if they ever play?
Well, this is giving him more time to get ready, and he's certainly on a contract year, so I feel he'll be motivated, and we know what he can do. That 2015 second half was the Mets are going nowhere without him. That was the most incredible second half I've ever seen anybody have, and a stretch run anybody can have. The question is, the DH will help. If they're going to institute a DH across the board, then you don't have to put him in the field.
That's a big plus. I agree.
That is a huge plus.
I agree, and that's why that rule's coming anyway, which we know it's coming anyway. So, and this might be the thing that brings it in full time, but you're right. That would be an enormous plus for Cespedes.
Yes, and it would be an enormous plus for the Mets if you've got, Conforto, who now has got time and not going to miss games. He'll be ready to go with that oblique. You've got. Bam Bam, our Rookie of the Year, Alonso, Conforto, and Cespedes in the middle of your lineup. I mean, that's pretty intimidating, don't you think?
No question. And and Alonso, who connects with the fans. That video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. But he does such a good job with the fans. He has a real good feel for the fan base. He's amazing at a young age. He well spoken and he really does connect. And he's got a chance to be something very special. Even the interesting thing will be what he does for an encore after what he did last year. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what he does. I had this question though, Keith. Answer this for me. I was watching. It's an interesting thing. I was watching before the season went down. I went to watch my son go through drills in high school. He was working out with his baseball team, and I was watching him. And they were going through infield drill, and I was thinking back to days when I played, and I did play. And when you, as someone as good as you were a fielder, did you enjoy infield, or was it drudgery to do infield?
By infield, you mean like infield before a game?
Yes, yeah. Just going through what you would regularly do your infield drills, do the stuff that you always did before the games that I used to love watch as a kid. They don't do it anymore like they used to, and they used to have the outfield throw and everything, and you know how it is when we first came up. Did you like doing that? I figured you probably did because you were such a good fielder. Did you like when you were on the field doing infield, or was it a drudgery?
Growing up, I loved taking infield and working with the outfielders, and I was part of the relays. And
right, the cutoff. So first base always, yeah. I played my senior year at first base, and you're in on every cutoff, absolutely.
Yeah, the only one you're maybe not involved
on the left side.
Especially on AstroTurf. I remember Whitey wanted me to be the cutoff man on a base hit to left field.
That's too tough.
And runners on first and second, I'm playing deep. I said, Whitey, I can't get
You couldn't get there. I would have never got there. I never could have got there. No way.
So anyway, I didn't like infield when I played in the major leagues. Whitey was insistent that everybody take infield, and he always said that everyday game. Don't think that I'm not going to have you guys hit or take infield. That's the game that you can rest assured that everyday game you will take infield and BP, because
even when it was hot,
night game, a day game after a night game, you're more inclined. I want you guys to be really warmed up and ready to go. There's more chance for injury if I say come to the park at noon for a 1:30 game.
So you would always take it. You would actually take infield and hit on those days.
Yes.
Wow.
And Davey, I never took infield. I asked Davey if I could skip the infield. I never liked. We always took infield a half hour before the game, or actually 35 minutes. It was 7:35 start back in those days. 7 o'clock home infield, 7:05 visiting team infield, and I always felt rushed coming out of infield, only having 20, 25 minutes before the game starts to kind of just settle myself, relax. So I never took infield with the Mets. They said, "Don't worry, don't take infield." So that Magadan always took the infield for me.
Interesting.
I always took my ground balls prior, so that was part of my prep, and I took that very seriously. Took all my throws from my infielders, and took every possible play, ground ball, playing back, holding the runner on, double play. Took that very seriously.
And the other thing was, I picked up a book in my bookcase the other day and started reading it because I was bored, and I was in my library, and it was Halberstam's book about the Cardinals and the Yankees and 64. The brilliant book he wrote about 64, the end of the Yankee dynasty, the beginning of the black player in the National League, the Cardinals and everything. And there's a part in there that I opened up to, and it was about Lou Brock, and obviously the great Brock Fabrolio trade and everything. And I thought about that when I had you on today, because fans probably know Lou Brock had a huge impact on your career, an enormous impact. Here's a guy who came there that year, had a huge thing on the Cardinals, who became a great team in those mid-'60s. I mean, a great team. Could have easily won 3 World Series. And, Brock was such a great player and had a big impact on your career, if I remember right?
Absolutely. Lou, it's funny you mentioned that. I just kind of reached out to him the other day. He was like my mentor. He just took it upon him. I guess he saw something in me, and he definitely mentored me. And I to this day, I struggled early in my career. I don't think I would have made it without Lou. He was there for me. It was tough love. He didn't baby me, but he was always encouraging. And if I was pouting, he'd get on me. And he taught me a lot of things about the game. And yes, I owe a monumental amount to Lou for being the major leaguer I became.
A remarkable career when you think about it, because here's a guy who got 3,000 hits. We know what he did as a steal guy, but really, because the point of that whole thing is, here's the Yankee organization, the dying dynasty, okay, that was like U.S. Steel and White America, and here it is. Hal Renoff said in 1965, you could see us rusting, okay, and everything. And here came the Cardinals, and how the Cardinals, unbeknownst to the world, like the Yankees, had their own way of doing things, just like the Dodgers did, just like the Yankees did. There was a certain way of being a Cardinal, just like there was being a Yankee, being a Dodger. There was a way to be a Cardinal.
Yeah, there's no question, and it was based on fundamentals. Now, I wasn't around back then in the 60s when they started turning things around. Johnny Keane became the manager that took them to the World Series in 1964.
Yeah, and then came to the Yankees.
And McCarver hit a home run in that series.
Oh, yeah.
Boyer hit a home run, a grand slam.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yep, I do too. There's no doubt that the Cardinals traditionally are the Yankees of the National League, as far as they've won the second most World Series of anybody. It's a great baseball town. Bing Devine was basically the general manager in there, and I think Bing was the one that recognized the African American athletes. And I remember Lou telling me in the All-Star game that the American League was always the last league to integrate. And when they went into the All-Star game, and you had Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron, Cepeda, McCovey, all those Willie Mays, It was, we're going to show them. They went in there determined to kick the American League's butt.
And they did forever.
And they did. You got that right.
And they did forever. I mean, they did for about 15 straight years. But you think about it. You get there and you got Brock there, okay? You have Joe Torre there, as a matter of fact, okay? You got Reggie Smith there, okay? Tim McCarver there. I mean, you still have some really, amazing names there when you get, Ted Simmons is there, okay?
Right.
That you had some really interesting guys there on that first team when you get to that team.
I was 20 years old, 2.5 years out of high school, and it was a veteran team. Bob Gibson,
of course. Yep.
And Rick Wise came over with the Carlton trade. I felt like a 5-year-old amongst, like I was walking in front of through a forest of sequoias and redwood. I just felt like I was so out of, just so out
Was
of place
Gibson
there.
approachable?
Gibson was tough. He was tough on me, but I later found out that if he felt that you had something going on, he got on you.
He wanted to ride
you.
He wanted to ride
you.
you.
If you were just in and out coming through, he wouldn't bother.
And how was Torre?
Joe was great to me. I mean, I got called up in August, and Joe got traded in the next off season.
Yep.
He got traded, but Joe was just wonderful to me, and I'll never forget that, how he treated me. And I guess Joe had to feel that, here I was. I had hit 353 in AAA, and then led the league in hitting down there, and then the heir apparent. It was, and Joe had to feel that I was nipping at his heels, but he treated me like gold. He was really just wonderful.
And Ted Simmons, another guy, but another good hitter. I mean, Ted Simmons was people that forget, because he came up recently in a conversation on the air. Ted Simmons was wasn't a great catcher, but he was a heck of a hitter.
He's a Hall of Famer now, right?
Yep.
And I did not realize that his numbers, as far as productivity, home runs, RBI, rank right there with the tops, with top 5 in the game. So Ted was a switch hitter as well, 300 from both sides.
Very good hitter.
He hit 20 home runs in that big ballpark on Old Bush, and he drive in 100. And when I led the league in hitting in '79. And when I finally got going, my first breakout year really was 77. I had Ted Simmons hitting behind me, and here I am. I'm a young kid hitting. I was going to be hitting third. I had Ted Simmons behind me in '79 the whole year, and they weren't going to let Ted Simmons. If it came down to the game on the line, they were going to go after me, not Ted Simmons.
Sure,
he was a proven clutch hitter. So
absolutely.
If I got ahead in the count, they weren't going to walk me or pitch around me. They were going to come after me, and I knew that, particularly the left-handers. So I had a lot of success with that. A lot of it goes with Ted gave me I had a lot of good 4-hitters hitting behind me. Lots of good ones, but to have a switch hitter behind you.
Yeah, he was a very classy hitter. What I remember, he wasn't a great fielding catcher, but he was a very classy hitter, as I remember right. That's what I remember about him.
He hit 330 one year.
Yep.
When he first came up, he hit line drives, and he hit like 15 home runs in the high teens. And then when we kind of made the transition, when Gary Templeton came up and this new group came, Bing Devine wanted him to pull more and hit more home runs, which I thought was a huge mistake, because Ted was a 320 hitter. I mean, he could from both sides of the plate. I mean, it was and just one of the best clutch hitters that I ever saw.
Yeah, no, wonderful hitter, absolutely. So, one last thing, Syndergaard. You shocked to hear Syndergaard missing the year like that? Were you stunned when you heard the news about Syndergaard?
Well, of course, but you know what? If you throw a slider that hard, year in, every fifth day, and it's 9 innings, or not 9 innings, 6, 7 innings, and everything 100% all-out effort, and your elbow, you can't take that. It just can't take it over the long haul. And what I found out talking to a lot of the older pitchers is that, they would get to the bottom of the order and they would kind of, okay, we got the 7, 8, 9 hitter in the order. I can kind of just back off 80%, to 80% or 85%, and then save it in the tank when I really need it. Make that one pitch when the game's on the line. Have something in the tank in the late innings, which doesn't factor in today's game. But a lot of pitchers today, it's just all out. It's all about the gun. It's all they're coming up. They don't get looked at unless they are on the gun at 95, 96, 97, and they don't know how to dial it back and conserve energy. And really, there's not a lot of. You don't see a lot of the guys that weren't hard throwers but knew how to pitch. And it's just all raw power now. But not all, but just guys trying to throw it through a brick wall, throw a hard slider. And there's no real great command that I see. So, but anyway, I just think that with him throwing that slider so much and throwing it so hard, I mean, Harvey the same way with Matt Harvey. It just, your elbow, and you can't take it.
Shocking that Harvey's out of the game. Absolutely shocking. If you had told me when he was at the height of his career, if you had told me he'd be out of the game right now, I would have been stunned. Absolutely stunned. He had a chance to be a great, great pitcher.
He did. He made things a little difficult
for
himself.
He did.
But,
he was a jerk, no question. Listen, he had a couple bad surgeries, but he also was a jerk. Let's be honest, he wasn't a good guy. But he had so much talent. It just shows you that you got to be lucky and good. You really do.
Yes, I agree. You mentioned Marvel, guys like, the guy I played against, whether Don Sutton, pitched all those innings.
Yep.
And Ryan, Carlton, year
Absolutely.
in, year out.
Yep. Absolutely. It really, it may, and listen, guys, it just shows you when you have, it's why we remember guys like yourself who have very long, consistently good careers because they're special, because it doesn't happen that often. It really doesn't. That's why when you can do it for a long time, you got to be very proud of doing it for a long time. It makes a big difference. It really, it's not easy to do.
Well, when I look back, Mike, and I know I'm running out of time here, is that I feel lucky that I never got hurt my first 13 years in the big leagues. I mean, I got nicked and dinged up a little bit, but nothing you couldn't play with and or complain about. But I mean, to pull a hamstring or a groin or a quad, I didn't take the greatest care of myself, and but I never got hurt, and until my 14th season, and when I pulled my hamstring in St. Louis, I think it was 87 or 88. I'm not sure. 88, I believe. So I feel kind of lucky as far as that was concerned because I played, 152, 53, 54, 55 every year.
That's what it's about. You know what? That's the first thing. To be good, you got to be there. That's the first thing. And, a lot of guys can't do that. A lot of guys just can't answer the bell. Well, listen, I appreciate the time. Hopefully we'll be back talking baseball soon. And watch Ozark.
I will. I promise.
Thanks.
I promise.
Take care. Be
okay,
well.
Mike,
be safe. Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Keith Hernandez, back after this.